It is the world that has been pulled over your eyes to blind you from the truth.
What truth?
That you are a slave, Neo.
Completely ordered, that in some mysterious way it brought about some of the chemistry, some of the psychic chemistry implied by Plotinus in his essay on the beautiful, which we have also described. In the rites, then, as in the approach of beauty, the soul in man was said to burst forth in joy, to embrace its own likeness. Thus the rituals were magnificent, integrated, psychological structures which could rouse through reminiscence, through recollection, through similarity, and through association, the sleeping remembrances that are locked within the psychic life of the individual. These rituals then call him forth out of the darkness of his own sleep and caused him to awaken. And while the rites were proceeding, he lived them, he experienced them, because they were unfolding in tone and order and picture and color and design the very structure of his own psychic life. He responded because they were revealing to him an absolute similitude of his own soul. A man being thus brought into the presence of that which is himself, and recognizing those patterns and pageantries which instinctively he receives and responds to by ancient instincts which he cannot even explain or understand. These rituals then were mandalas. They were concentration fields by which the disciple or the candidate was lured from the darkness of his own sleep. In him then the soul which had slumbered, which had been unable to rouse itself by its own vigilance alone, was able to be revived and to be restored to its own waking state. Those who attained this, or received this apotheosis within themselves, were said to have been like Apuleius, brought forth into the presence of the great and glorious God. And in this procedure were enabled to revive the divine memory, the intuitive power, the inspirational faculty, which had slept within them since the time of their embodiment in form.
The symbols of air, fire, water, earth, the four elements of alchemy. Alchemy, for most people today, no more than a half-forgotten medieval quest for a way to change base metal into pure gold. But the true alchemist's search was much more than that. A key phrase in their writings is, as above, so below, reflecting their continual search for an earthly counterpart to the immensity of God's cosmos, their desire to transmute base man into pure spirit. The alchemical quest seems to have held much fascination for many of the Grand Masters of the Priory of Zion, and the Templars seem to have absorbed it along with the other Eastern philosophies and sciences with which they came into contact. As above, so below. Base man into pure spirit, a religious concept. And the Templars were a religious organization, the Priory also. And Saunière the priest emphasized the religious aspect by placing cryptic imagery in his church, a church dedicated centuries before his time to Mary Magdalene, the redeemed sinner who was the first to see Christ after the resurrection. When Saunier returned from Paris with his newfound knowledge, he emphasized the importance of Mary Magdalene by naming the tower which he built with his newfound wealth La Tour Magdala, the Magdala Tower. For the occult initiates of the Middle Ages, Mary Magdalene, through her redemption from sin and her unique knowledge of the risen Christ, was regarded as a medium of secret revelation, and those initiates had chosen the planet Venus as her symbol in the cosmos. A saint and a star. The connection between them could only be fanciful, subjective, close to fairy tale. I could find no connection that seemed valid to me until I realized that I had to stop imposing modern attitudes on the thinking of those involved in this mystery. To come to terms with it, to begin to understand, I had to look at their beliefs, their interpretations, in their way, and not in ours. If we are to find a significance in Venus, then we must look at the planet as they did. And in the thinking of those who created this mystery, there was some connection between the pentacle at Rennes-le-Château, Mary Magdalene, and Venus. But how did the medieval mind view the universe? As soon as I began to work along those lines, I found exciting new answers to old questions stemming from the ancient belief that the Earth, and not the Sun, was the center of the universe. Each planet has its own pattern of movement around the Sun when seen from the Earth, and for medieval astrologers, those differing movements allowed them to draw geometric shapes based on the positions of the planets when they are aligned with the Sun. For example, Mercury in its orbit is aligned 3 times with the Sun, and the pattern formed by these conjunctions is an irregular triangle. Each planet makes a different number of alignments, each forms its own irregular pattern. Only one planet forms a precise and regular geometric pattern in the sky, and that planet is Venus, the heavenly representation of the earthly Mary Magdalene. And the pattern she draws, as regularly as clockwork every 8 years, is a pentacle. As above, so below. At Rennes-le-Château, village of Mary Magdalene, we have the perfect pentacle, the earthly counterpart of the perfect pentacle in the heavens, the secret and hidden pattern of Venus, the Magdalene. Each pentacle precise, known, yet hidden. One must be initiated into the mystery before one can see the age-old and unchanging truth that the heavens find reflected in that tiny location on the face of the earth. Here was the link between the worlds of matter and spirit, between base and corrupt man here on earth, and the twinkling firmament where dwelt God and all his saints. Mary Magdalene, the medium of a secret revelation, was herself the image of the secret revelation in the sky. To the medieval mind, to the alchemist, to the Templar, to the Priory of Zion, such an image was immensely powerful, immensely potent. In that majestic symbol in the sky, harmonious, unchanging, regular as a metronome, was the music of the spheres.
We are now concerned in analytical psychological research with the problem of the interpretation of symbolic patterns from within the subconscious and the unconscious of man. We feel that man is moving from within outward through the projection from himself of symbolic forms which bear witness to the geometrical proportions of his own psychic life. Therefore, the individual in his dreams, or in his waking dreams, in his instinctive likes and dislikes, in the decisions and choices which he makes, in the person he may choose to marry, in his attitude towards life and his world, in all these things, the individual is drawing something from himself, is causing symbolic forms and shadows to come to the surface from the deep sources and fountains of his own existence. Now, the difference between this and the great rituals of the Mother of the Gods may be worthy of our consideration. For in these rituals, the qualities with which man is most concerned are lured from himself by presentation of symbol to him, and not merely released through him in a heterogeneous collection of dissonant elements. In other words, if these symbolic forms which come from man represent various impersonations of his instincts, then these instincts have potential forms or symbolical equivalents. And if the most divine of these instincts are pictured to man, he will experience them and find that these pictures will call upon his own inner remembrances and release these symbolic patterns from within himself. In the common ordinary life of man, most of his environmental circumstances do not directly release, because they are in themselves asymmetrical. They are in themselves compromises, materialistic emphases, and the individual is not in the presence of sheer beauty, nor is he in the presence of sheer goodness, as far as man is capable of contriving these terms or the elements and principles for which they stand.